Preparation gets you ready, but liftoff, that's when you actually take flight. This is the moment where you stop circling the runway and finally rise into the version of yourself you've been praying for. Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of the Pretty Aligned podcast, the space where we shift perspectives, reframe the way we think, and step into alignment with who we're truly meant to be. I'm your host, Octavia Darling, and every week we'll have real conversations that help you reset your mindset, overcome limiting beliefs, and create a life that feels good from the inside out. So grab your coffee, tea, your journal, or just your open mind and get ready to receive. Let's get into it. So this season has been all about shifting mindsets, reframing limiting stories, and building the foundation for growth. Now we're stepping into the expansion phase because you're not just preparing anymore, darling. No, you're ready to soar. See, liftoff is that shift from planning to doing. It's when your preparation actually pays off. Think about graduation day. Years of studying, late nights, and sacrifice all come down to that one moment when you walk across the stage. That is a liftoff experience. And I will share a personal liftoff moment for you. This entire year, 2025, has felt like graduation day. I have been faced with many obstacles and many shifts that required me to leave behind or let go of all of my comfort zones. But what I did not realize was that comfort zones can also show up in human form. Now, as you may know, nothing grows in comfort zones. So whenever you're met with that decision, please choose wisely. What would you say your personal liftoff moment is in this season? Is it launching a business, breaking a cycle, or maybe stepping into a new mindset? Now, expansion feels uncomfortable because it requires you to step out of the familiar. Let's use a plant for an example. Earlier this year, a friend of mine gifted me a clipping of her monstera plant. Now, when I was first gifted it sat in water, and she said, when the roots appear, plant it in soil. So I did just that. I had this nice small pink ceramic pot, and I watched this plant bloom in this pot for a few months until recently I noticed that the plant was outgrowing the pot. Now, before I repotted it, I watched how the roots still continued to do its thing. I watched how the plant still continued to bloom, but you can tell that something was stunting its growth. See, when it outgrows its pot, it needs more space because staying in the old pot stunts the growth, but moving into a bigger one feels uncertain at first. After some resistance, I finally bought a bigger pot to put it in. And once I placed it into a space where it can grow at the speed that it was growing at, it flourished. The limiting belief that I experienced here was the fear of the unknown. Because what if I couldn't handle the pace that the plant was growing at? What if moving it into a bigger pot didn't help its growth, but it actually hindered it? Those are the thoughts that came in my mind. But once I reframed the fear of the unknown and shifted it into excitement for what's possible, oh baby, that's when things began to change. See, liftoff requires you to let go of the old weight. Those limiting beliefs, they can't come with you. Just like planes, for example. They can't take off overweight. They literally have to calculate the luggage to a T. And the same with life. Carrying old doubts or excuses will stunt your growth. So let me ask you this. What baggage do you need to drop so you can rise higher? Now, liftoff can be exciting, but remember, turbulence is normal. Expansion doesn't mean it's easy, it just means that you're moving. Just like when you're on an airplane, when you experience turbulence, it doesn't mean you're failing, right? It just means that you're in motion. So, what I want you to do is expect obstacles to show up and view them as signs of growth, not failure. All right, let's turn up the heat a little and slide into the hot seat coaching segment where I coach through a situation that needs a serious reframe. Here's the scenario. I've been preparing and doing the inner work, but I'm scared to actually launch. What if I fail once I lift off? Darling, let me tell you this. Failure is just an indication that there's a few tweaks that needs to be made, because when you lift off, you should lift off with ease, clarity, and confidence that your trip is going to be smooth. Failure is just lessons. It shows you where you can still improve. I mean, you said it. You've been doing the inner work. Now think about that for a moment. The inner work that you've done throughout this entire season. How much energy, effort, and sacrifice did it require? How many tweaks did you need to make until you felt like, you know what, this is alignment? That's how I want you to approach it when it comes to your liftoff season. When you get ready for liftoff, you want to make sure you do all of the checks. Make sure everything is where it's supposed to be. And be okay if you have to make a few changes. Be okay if there's a slight delay. Be okay with the fact that, you know what, this is all a part of the process. And that's what you want to trust. Failure is what got me where I am today. Failure is what brought me to this podcast. I have been a full-time entrepreneur for going on 6 years now, and I cannot count how many times I failed again and again and again on all of these ideas and creative projects that I would start but never finish. I would write down but never execute. Or I would launch and it would not go all the way up. Failure is what brought me here. See, I won't say failure is easy or that it gets easier. I would just say failure is a part of the process. When you fail, just know that there's opportunity for more growth, right? Failure is just an indication that you haven't given up. Failure is an indication that you can do more. I know that failing can feel like a form of defeat. But when you are committed to the journey and you are committed to doing the inner work like you have done, oh, failure is the icing on the cake. Failure just shows that I didn't give up. Failure just shows that, you know what? I did the best that I could do. And if it didn't work, and I tried and exhausted all of my efforts, then maybe this just wasn't meant to be. But I guarantee you, whenever you fail, you will learn something from it. And maybe that something is what you need to try again. Maybe that something is what you need to go back to the drawing board and create what you were supposed to create from the beginning. It's about the experience. But what you don't want to do is focus on the failure. You don't want to dwell in that headspace, in that energy, because it could really bring down your energy level. It could bring down your joy. It can come in as a form of distraction or discouragement. And then next thing you know, you're not making any moves. You're just stuck. You're just stagnant because you've put all your effort into this happening, into this working for you. and it didn't play out the way you thought it would. Speaking from experience, it is not good to rely on things working out the first time. Do not rely on things working out the first time. You guys, you're setting yourself up if you do. Leave room for disappointment. Leave room for error. Leave room for improvement, because all of this is going to do is make you better. Make whatever you're creating better. I can't even explain the amount of times I got so discouraged because things did not play out the way that I thought it would. A matter of fact, I am currently recovering from a situation that did not play out the way that I thought it would. And because it didn't, it had me down in the slumps. It had me feeling so defeated. It had me feeling like a complete failure. And I could not understand how I failed or what led me there or how to even get out of it. I could not even see myself picking up from where I left off. I could not even see the lesson that was right in front of my face. But as I am speaking to you all right now, and when I reflect back on how everything played off, it makes sense why it didn't happen the way I thought it would. It makes perfect sense. You know why? Because it wasn't in alignment. I actually just did a YouTube video on this last week. It's called "If You're Forcing It, You're Out of Alignment," and I'll make sure to link it in the show notes. But basically in that video, I was just sharing how important it is to move in alignment, right? When you move, or this is the scenario, when you give birth prematurely or you give birth too late, there's always complications. But when you give birth on the actual due date, you move in alignment. Things move smoothly for the most part, right? And this is just a, fictitious scenario. But the point is, if you fail, maybe it's just not your season. Maybe it's just not your time. Maybe you're moving too soon, or maybe you sat on that idea too long that you're out of alignment. This is a wonderful time for you to trust your intuition. This is the wonderful time for you to trust yourself. And that's something else that a lot of people don't talk enough about. Once you lift off, then what? Then what's next? Your faith has to match the level that you're on. You can't go there with doubt. You can't go to the next destination with doubt. You can't go to the next destination with insecurity. You can't go to the next destination lacking confidence. You have to embody all of those qualities so that you can focus on sustaining your new elevation. So, my love, if you fail, once you lift off, go back to the drawing board and see what kind of changes and adjustments can I make? What needs to be tweaked so I can try again? It may be your perspective. It may be your attitude. It may be your confidence. It may be the entire idea. But you have to be willing to do whatever it takes to get you to that next destination. And don't bring any baggage that will cause you to be overweight. Be okay with letting go of whatever your comfort zone is and feel the fear and do it anyways. Now here's a little note to self and you. Once you lift off, it's about sustaining that new altitude. Growth is not a one-time event, it's a lifestyle. Just like when astronauts go into orbit, they don't just celebrate the launch. They learn how to live in that new environment. So I encourage you to keep aligning with your habits, mindset, in actions so they don't crash back into old patterns. See, liftoff isn't just about one big moment. It's about becoming the version of yourself that's bold enough to rise, steady enough to expand, and free enough to stay in flight. You've been preparing all season for this moment, and now it's time to soar. All right, y'all. So before we wrap up season 1, I invite you to take a brief moment to reflect with me. If you can, grab your notebook or journal, or even if you have your phone, just so you can jot down your answers. Now, looking back, what's one mindset shift from this season that stuck with you the most? What belief or perspective did you reframe, and how has it changed your outlook? What baggage do you need to release before you step into your next season? What daily habits, affirmations, or practices will help you sustain your growth? And the last question, if you could describe your liftoff moment in one sentence, what would it be? My loves, you've done the reset. You've reframed, you've aligned, and now it's time to rise. This is your season to step into abundance, live in alignment, and get ready to lift off. A lot has shifted for me along this journey, and I'm excited to share with you the changes in season 2. Remember, we are going on a brief break, and we will be back sooner than you think. So, to keep up with us in the meantime, make sure that you're following us on social media. That information will be listed in the show notes. You may also still submit your hot seat coaching scenarios during this break. I welcome them, okay? Thank you all so much for rocking with me during this season. Your love, your support, the shares, the comments, the positive feedback has definitely warmed my heart and just reaffirmed me every single time that I am on the right path and I am in full alignment with my purpose. So I thank you so much for supporting me throughout this journey, supporting me with my vision, and just taking a moment to tune in. Thank you for hanging out with me today on the Pretty Aligned podcast. I hope something in this episode gave you a fresh perspective or a new way to see yourself. Remember, small shifts create big change. If you loved today's conversation, share this with a friend who needs it, and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the next reset. Until then, keep aligning, keep growing, and keep becoming the best version of you. I'll see you in season 2. Take care.